Hello, everyone online. Dave or somebody else, could you give just an indication that you can hear us all right?
Yes, we can.
Lovely, thank you. We're going to go back on mute now for the next 5 minutes until the meeting actually starts. All right, we have 2 minutes, but the mics are on.
In 2 minutes?
Yep.
Yeah, that thing
6:58.
Yeah.
She's gonna interview for Cemetery Zone.
Okay. Did you see comps on that stormwater?
We looked at Montpelier. We basically copied.
Other thing is get this
I think they
open.
pretty much talked to Kurt.
Seems super low.
They talked to Kurt, and they basically took to what they're doing. So I mean, the whole structure, the
Here we go.
the permit, the form, everything. They did. That's what they want.
And do you pay a user
Now that you said that,
discharge to the system?
I just parked across the street by the park. I was like, screw this.
No, I'm good. Give him sometime in the next 5 minutes. He'll pop in on Zoom and be pissed.
All right, are we there, Teddy?
6:59.
It's the longest 2 minutes of the.
There it is. All right.
Wait, hold on. Okay. Oh, yep, no, I already did that. Cool, we're good.
All right, it is 7 o'clock on Tuesday, June 6, 2023, and I'll call this Barre City Council meeting to order. Council present tonight, we have Councilor Deering, Councilor Wozniak, Councilor Stockwell, Councilor Lozon. I don't see Councilor Booton, and I know Councilor Chambel had a scheduled absence. And I'm Mayor Jay Kemrick. The staff, and joining us tonight, we have City Manager Shirley Castro, Clerk Treasurer Dawes,
We've got,
Deputy Chief Aldsworth, Assistant
Planning Permitting
Assistant.
Assessing Director Janet Shatney,
Don as well online.
Don, Assistant City Manager Don Monahan, Deputy Chief Aldsworth. I think that's everybody. So tonight's agenda is available online and in the back of the room. The meeting has been publicly posted, is being recorded, and subject to Vermont's open meeting law and the council's rules of procedure, which are available online. I'd like to offer a warm welcome to all the guests and members of the public joining us tonight. For those of you joining us online, please keep in mind that the chat function should only be used for technical issues or difficulties. The city offers online access as a convenience, and we will continue the meeting if any technical difficulties occur. For both people online and here in the room, please raise your hand if you would like to be recognized, and I'll ask that you come forward here in the room and speak into the microphone, introducing yourself and your town of residence. I'll call on speakers in order, allowing people who haven't spoken yet to speak first and limiting time if necessary to do the city's business. If you have any questions about process or procedure, please ask and we will get it sorted. And I want to thank everyone in advance for participating in a civil way. With that, that takes us to the second item on the agenda, adjustments to the agenda. Manager Shirley Kester, do you have any adjustments?
None for me unless we're removing item 5D.
Yeah, that's one thing I would like to discuss. What would be the best time to take that up after the volunteer appointments, reappointments?
I don't know if I have all the answers to the questions you asked, so I don't know if it probably makes sense to remove it at this point.
To remove
Yeah.
it for now and look back to that. Okay, right. City Council, are there any other questions on your end or adjustments on your end? Yep. All right. Hearing and seeing none, that means that we'll just take item 5D off the agenda for this week. Loop back to that, and then we have as our third item a resolution presented by Councilor Stockwell, 2023-06, recognizing Pride Month, and I'll hand it over to Councilor Stockwell.
Thank you. A resolution honoring June as Pride Month. Whereas the first Gay Pride Day was celebrated in 1970 in New York as a declaration of the value, dignity, and right to belong of all LGBTQ citizens, and whereas prior to and after the Stonewall riots of 1969, national prohibitions banned LGBTQ individuals from employment, marriage, and military service and failed to protect them from discrimination. And whereas LGBTQ individuals in the city of Barre and every other municipality in the state and in the nation were excluded and their history hidden. And whereas we would celebrate the history of LGBTQ quarry workers, secretaries, machinists, teachers, and others if they were known. And whereas every citizen of Barre has been nursed, tutored, parented, or otherwise cared for, either knowingly or unknowingly by a member of the LGBTQ community. And whereas the city of Barre is a welcoming committee, affirming the right of self-determination to all its citizens, and a proud supporter of the state laws protecting the rights of all LGBTQ individuals. And whereas many cannot and dare not celebrate Pride, and as with other minorities across the globe, remain ostracized and at best discounted, and whereas the right to self-determination is under attack across the United States, and many LGBTQ individuals, particularly youth, are forced from their homes and communities and experience the unremitting stress of rejection at a time of great vulnerability. And whereas we, the citizens of Barre, celebrate the memory of those that lived their love in secret and those who spoke out in their early days, emboldened by just such support as we name. Now therefore be it resolved by the Barre City Council that the City of Barre commend the LGBTQ citizens of Barre, and be it further resolved that the City Council does hereby declare the month of June 2023 to be Gay Pride Month in recognition of LGBTQ residents of Barre past and present for their contributions to the culture and diversity of the city.
Thank you, Councilor Stockwell. Is there a motion?
Second. She presented the
Oh, there's a
resolution.
motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Counselor Stockwell. So that takes us to our fourth item on the agenda, visitors and communication. This is an opportunity to speak to any item that's not on the agenda tonight, but if you're here to speak to an item that is on the agenda, you can speak to that item when we take up that item of business. Jesse Rosado.
So I'm Jesse Rosado from Merchant Street. And I just wanted to come in and give you guys a quick update on the restoration of bus service. There's a little new information that is on the GMT website on Leadership Committee minutes. And I'll just read the first paragraph real quick for you guys and just give you a summary of what follows. You guys can look it up and see it on your own time if you would like. But it's the City Commuter Restoration of Service. General Manager Clark provided an overview of the reductions made by to the city commuter in March of 2020, the justifications of why they occurred, and the reasons for discussing it today. He added that we have the capacity to return the first and last trip, and recommended that we do so. All of the following discussion was board members. And they went back and forth and they rejected pulling in the first trip and the last trip. And they decided to withhold that. And there's discussion about trying to use those trips as leverage for public-private partnerships with employers in the area so they can try and raise money that way, those kind of things. We've been over this many times, those two trips that we're talking about is really the trips that allow Barre City people to participate in the ride to work system, you know. And it sounds like GM Clark, who's been here with us, has tried to do a good thing. You know, he says, hey, look, let's just give them back those buses. Austin Davis and others on the board rejected that because they saw an opportunity to create some kind of funding thing. So this is in preparation to a partial restoration that's supposed to be happening on the 19th. And so I hope that we're clear with the media, with everyone, that this is not a, you know, because they're going to show up with the headline, hey, this is a full restoration. This is not a full restoration. It's a partial restoration. And as it stands right now, as we leave it like this, you know, our people can't participate in the ride to work system. And that's, you know, that bus system for people in the town, you know, that's an opportunity for people to really be able to help themselves out and find better opportunities, better work, those kind of things. And so, so I hope that we'll just continue pushing and maybe even reaching out to, because it's hard to tell what people, you know, we should all ask ourselves, like, what are we doing to help this out? You know, like, and what are, and maybe even ask our other people that are, you know, like, what is Jonathan Williams doing, you know, to help this out? What is Peter Anthony and Ann Watson and Ann Cummings and Andrew Birchlick? Like, those are good discussions that we could be having to say, how could we all work together to really get this going? Because I mean, we're 11 months into these cuts now. And of course, you know, we need the bus to work well. So anyways, that's what I just want to bring that to your attention.
I think Councilor Deering has a follow-up question, and I had a follow-up question. Was that a Board of Commissioner meetings, or was that a subcommittee?
It was one of their subcommittees. It's the leadership committee meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is Christian Meyer our rep on that committee?
Let me just scroll up and see if he is. Yeah, let me just see.
And I know while you're doing that, I know
Yeah.
we've had these discussions about getting a board seat as a city under the Green Mountain Transit Authority charter. But we could still be well outnumbered by all the Chittenden County communities
Yeah, it doesn't look like Christian's on that committee.
on the board, but
Yeah, it was really
okay.
the chair and the vice chair, Brewer and Austin Davis, that we're really
Yeah.
pushing for. And it really is. I mean, I don't know what's going on with this leadership team. I mean, they're really good at raising money. I mean, I'm not the smartest guy in the world at reading finance statements. It looks like they run off of $22 million a year. They're really great at raising money. And our government at all levels are really kind to them. You know, federal, state, local, like have been really good to them. And now, you know, why they don't just provide the service, I don't, you know, It's beyond me.
Let the record show Council Boone's here at 7:13. Council Deering.
Which meeting was that you're talking about? I know that's the leadership committee, which month? I want to
May.
look back at the minutes,
Yeah,
because me and you have been doing this
Yeah. We've been
minutes.
paying attention.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I missed that. I apologize.
No, that's all
but
right.
That's why I asked. You said
That's why I brought it in
it was
here.
which
so you
month?
guys- It's May.
Okay.
in the leadership committee.
And that's just on GMT's website.
Yeah.
Under their leadership committee. Yep. All of their committees have meeting minutes and have been very helpful. And
You were the one that turned
Yes,
me
sir.
on to that. You showed me that. That's great.
so
All right. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. I don't want to
Thank
take
you,
too much
Jesse.
time.
Appreciate it. All right, so that takes us to our consent agenda. We have
Hey,
approved.
we've got other,
Oh, yeah.
Nancy.
Bernadette, welcome back.
Thank you. My name is Bernadette Rose, and I live in Barre City, and I come bearing gifts tonight. I used to come in every year, and then COVID happened, and try to help make our city aware of the risks of Lyme disease, not only for citizens, but especially for our public service workers, people in DPW, and our emergency services. And I'm not going to address the camping as camping, but when we know that we are having emergency people and our police going out, we need to make sure they're protected. So I'm here just to help remind us. I have 50 booklets for DPW and for Chief Vale. I know sometimes he's here. I don't know if Brian Baker is here. I can drop them off at their offices. I also have some stickers and little tags. And if either of them would like me to come and bring my prevention packet and address workers, I'm happy to do that. And I especially wanted to bring some statistics to your attention because, you know, I've had Lyme disease for 25 years and spent about 7 years trying to help get the state to do something like this booklet, to get the state to make it so it's not illegal for a physician to treat somebody with Lyme disease for more than 28 days with antibiotics. The suicide rate for Lyme disease last year, these are definite cases that were attached to people with Lyme disease, was 1,200 people. In Vermont alone last year, there were 6,000 cases of Lyme disease. They are not all reported because they have to meet the CDC's guidelines for reporting, which is first you have to test with a test that doesn't work, and then you test for another test if that test maybe worked. And so we're grossly underreported with the CDC. In the United States, that's between 300 and 500,000 people. And I think that the deaths by suicide of 1,200 people is a very moderate number. People's immune systems, their metabolic changes, overwhelming multiple debilitating systems create an environment that makes it difficult for them to live. And I will say that my doctor said, you have to go to see a counselor a couple of times. And I know that I got angry, I was depressed. Thank God for people like Carol and her staff every year, because I didn't have a memory. I came in and I asked for help because I couldn't remember how to vote from one year to the next. And that's not where I am now because of a lot of hard work and a lot of support from my community of healers. That doesn't happen for everybody. And I'll have to say that I'm 71. I thought I would die when I was 50. I thought I would definitely die by the time I was 55. When I turned 60, I went, oh my God, I'm still alive. What am I going to do?
Keep living.
And so I went on a vacation. And I thank you all so much for the work. I wish that I had more stamina to participate. And that's why I haven't been around so much. But Nicholas, can I either leave this with you or?
Yeah, that'd be great. Councilor Deering?
Brenda, I just want to say from the bottom of my heart, I appreciate you. Last year, after I was elected to office, you and I sat down and talked about ticks and Lyme disease. You gave me some of this stuff, and what I did was I went around to my neighborhood and I talked to some kids and I handed out some stickers, and we had an educational piece on that. So really, thank you for your advocacy work in that, because without that, I might not have had that opportunity as well. It also gave me the opportunity to learn more about it, and my dog this past year was diagnosed with Lyme. So thankfully to you, I had a bit more information. So really, thank you for being the advocate we need.
You're welcome. And I just will add that I have modified the booklets because there is misinformation in it. And no matter how hard we try, the state's telling people, and the CDC says, throw your tick out. And I've put in a sticker that says, keep the tick, save the tick, tells you where to go and a place to look, because you want to identify the tick. And healthcare professionals, as hard as they are trying, are confusing a dog tick with an engorged black-legged tick. And that makes people go, oh, I won't have Lyme disease. And so it's just a little piece of extra. Yes, Michael. Thank you, Councilor Booton.
You mentioned to save the tick, so because I recently had one and I posted a picture and everything else, but it's not to get it tested, right? You're just saying so that you can identify it?
First, to identify it, to really have a clear identification. And yes, you may want to have it tested. A family member in a more southern state had the tick she had tested, and it came back positive for 3 other types of tick-borne diseases. And so she received treatment for that and isn't ill, but we do have Babesia is endemic all over Vermont now. So that's pretty easy to test for. And the Red Cross tests for it. When you go to give blood, they test for Babesia. And if you have Babesia, there's a good chance you also have Lyme, because they travel together. And if you have anything else, you guys all know how to get in touch with me, because I've sent you lots of emails. But thank you so much for all your work.
Well, thank you for that reminder, Bern. Are there any other items for visitors and communications? All right, hearing and seeing none, that takes us to our consent agenda. We have approval of the minutes of the regular city council meeting of Tuesday, May 30th, 2023. We have the city warrants of the week of June 7th, 2023, and we have the clerk's office's licenses and permit.
Yep, I've got 3 licenses for approval. One is a food vending license for the candy van. And if you approve them, then you will start hearing them around in your neighborhood with their ice cream truck. We've got an entertainment license application from Forbin's Finest out back on 21 Metro Way for a job fair this coming Saturday, the 10th, and Faith Community Church for their Church in the Park, annual Church in the Park event on July 9th in Courier Park. So all 3 of those are included in the consent agenda.
All right, that's the consent agenda. Is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
Motion by Councilor Deering, second by Councilor Wazazak. Is there any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. The consent agenda is adopted. That takes us to the city clerk and treasurer report.
The only thing I've got is a continuing reminder that water and sewer bills went out last week and they are due by the end of June. That's it.
All right. With that, that takes us to the liquor and cannabis control boards.
Nothing.
We have no items, so the city manager's report.
Thanks, Mayor. So we have some more committee interviews and appointments tonight. The last round of interviews will happen at our next meeting on June 20th, which will, as a reminder, start at 6 p.m. There's 16 interviews tentatively scheduled on the 20th, covering DRB wards 1 and 2, Planning Commission, D&E, CV Fiber, and CVRPC. There's probably going to be a couple of sort of cleanup interviews. There's one individual who had to cancel tonight, so they'll be added to the 20th. So 16, now 17, maybe a couple more if there's any other shifts tonight, but that's on deck for the 20th. Really excited to share, as our rec department did this earlier today, that the pool is opening on Friday, the 23rd. The first day, the hours on the first day will be 12 to 4 p.m. and admission will be free. So come on out to the pool. It's been freshly painted. They've done some great work with the mulch in the playground, and we are reopening the bathrooms in the park there this summer as well. So really excited about the work that our facilities crews are doing. I see Jeff here in the audience. We're keeping those guys busy, making that some improvements at that playground.
It's a free pool day, June 23rd.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep. And we, just a reminder, we did change some fees this earlier this spring. We have season passes that will be on sale. Adult passes for Barre City residents $70, non-resident adults $80. Barre City Child Season Pass $40, non-resident child $50. Season passes for a family is $130 for Barre City and $160 for non-resident. So really encourage people to get those. They will pay themselves off in a handful of trips to the pool. So that is the way to go. We're also working with Carol, Finance Office, Stephanie. We'll be accepting credit cards payment at the pool this summer. So for people like me who don't carry cash, we'll be able to get in. Tracy, we met with Tracy Lewis this morning, our monthly meeting, and just excited that the Barre Farmers Market opening tomorrow at Depot Square. So just a reminder that the new location for that, it's from 3:30 to 6:30. So great, really excited about the new spot, but just also to people circulating through the city to be aware of there'll be barricades up, and we'll be bagging the meters first thing in the morning to prepare for the farmers market there. And also really excited that the paving has started. River Street was first up. Our crews have done some really great work trying to stay ahead of the paving contractor to get streets ready for overlays. Folks may have also noticed some work on the hill past Cumbies. I know Rosemary reached out about that. The good news is that it's being prepared for paving. The crews did a great job there on the wall. It's now a little bit easier, safer to navigate, but it will be even better once the paving happens there. We're working, and kudos to Brian Baker, Director of Public Works. We worked with he led this, but we worked with the state to get a cost sharing agreement to do that paving. This is happening sort of in the interval between when the state would normally do paving and normally the city would be responsible for maintenance. We think that this is probably a little bit more than maintenance, so we've worked with the state on an arrangement. They're paying more than half the cost of that. So really want to thank that AOT came out to the site to inspect it with me and Brian, and appreciate them working with us on that. So that's it for me.
Any questions for the manager?
Yes, actually, this is regards to the housing stuff. How often, I received a question, how often has AHS been communicating with the city?
I mean, it's with me, we met with them on Monday. I've emailed back and forth with them several times. Deputy Chief is on the phone, is on the Zoom, and I know he's doing some communications. I would say almost on a daily basis, if not more than daily basis. Is that accurate, Joe, between me and you?
Yeah, a couple times a day. They've been very open and communicative with us.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Please come forward.
Hello, my name is Kat Allen. I'm here to interview for a thing later. But do you know that I have been looking for how to stay in touch with happenings in Barre since I moved here last year? I had no idea we had a pool. I love farmers markets and had no idea it was restarting up. How do people find out other than tuning in?
Yeah, so for example, the farmers market is run by the Barre Partnership.
Yep, they have their own Instagram page.
They have their own Instagram, Facebook. So that's probably one to keep track of.
Consolidated Instagram.
Yeah, it would be nice. It would be nice.
You know
Yeah.
what comes up when I search for Barre?
No.
Mayor Jake.
Oh.
Hey!
Hey! Just a note.
Yeah.
Just a note.
I appreciate it. I mean, I think we have our Facebook page that we're trying to. I know, not me.
So I asked for some communication budgeting next, maybe. Align it. Good feedback, thanks. Anything else for the manager? And it's, if any family's experiencing like financial hardship, they can talk to
Yeah.
Stephanie and.
Absolutely,
And, yeah. okay.
absolutely, yeah.
All right. With that, that takes us to our first item of new business, which is an update on preparations to address emergency housing transitions and designation of locations to authorize encampments. And you have a PowerPoint on
Yes,
this, right?
there's a PowerPoint on the desk, and
Should
Councilor
be-
Wazazak
Yeah,
looks like he's pulling it up right now.
yeah, it's on a
Oh, Sarah.
slight delay. Yep, yep. Sarah had her hand
Her
up.
hand up.
Try one other thing. Want to call on Sarah while I'm trying to make this work the right way? How about that one?
Am I called on?
No, we're getting a presentation from the manager right now, so, and then I think we'll open it up for public discussion, so.
Oh, I had a question about the manager's report.
Sure, yeah,
Is that okay?
yeah.
I wanted to ask, I know the paving part, it was like probably a month ago, I had asked about the spot on Pleasant Street that was dug up for the water main issue. And I was told that it was gonna get fixed, but I don't think that it has. And then the other question I had was about so there's property that belongs to the city along Fortney Place that abuts the Canales Park. And so I know one of the homeowners on Fortney used to mow all of that, and I'm not sure that that's gonna happen this year. And I'm just wondering if that's something that the city could do in a, on their rounds when doing like Canales Park, but also mowing up on Fortney Place, that part where the city owns.
So, Sarah, on the paving on Pleasant, what's likely happened, and I'll check with Brian, but the DPW crews have basically been redirected to paving prep and just to stay ahead of the contractor, so they have to do a lot of prep before the overlay can come on. So that's it's just routine. It happens that they have to put some projects down to stay ahead of the contractor for the time of the year that the contractor can do this work. So I would expect, I'll check with Brian, I'll get you an update, but I would expect that they'll try to re-engage on those projects that they had to drop once they're a couple of streets ahead of the paver. And I'm looking at Jeff on the mowing. I don't know if that would be facilities or DPW, but yeah, it sounds like DPW.
We mow and trim inside the park itself.
Yeah.
I didn't hear the whole question. I think they're referring to up on the bank, the side bank on Fortney.
Yeah.
I'll have to check with Brian. Because
Yeah, it sounds like it's DPW. Yeah. Well, those are two questions for Brian, Sarah.
Okay.
So I'll follow up.
There's also a lot of dead trees back behind the park too that should probably come out, and maybe not this year, but soon.
Yeah, I think we
did. We went in and removed some. That's the stuff that was on the ground. We cleaned up.
In the park, it looks nice. It's all cleaned out. I'm talking about beyond the end of that little park and up, which is still city property. And you can see a lot of it from Fortney Place. Just a lot of dead trees that are in there. So
yeah, I'll follow up with Brian and Jeff. We'll see if
Thank you.
there's a need. Yeah.
Right.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir.
All right, back to the agenda item.
So Nicholas, I'm just gonna click through this because there's about a 10-second delay when I.
Okay, that's fine. So, and first slide is very familiar, just the context setting, 387 people, 302 adults, 85 children impacted. The waves are kind of more staggered than when we initially started. And that's because a couple of the motels gave 2-week extensions for the people who were gonna be evicted June 1st. So that sort of created a natural stagger there because they were some of the bigger motels. And then for the people who were evicted July 1st, they have an opportunity to apply for an additional 28 days based on some eligibility criteria. So, but still, this is still the scope that we're looking at. Slide 3, just a reminder, the city submitted a letter of interest on May 26th. And that letter contained 3 components. One was to the use of the BOR as an emergency shelter. That was through September 1st. That was requiring staffing, security by the state, and covering of costs by the state, ancillary costs in addition to the cost of the facility, like insurance, legal, emergency response. We also, that letter also included requests for the rental of portable toilets and showers to both supplement facilities at the BOR should it be used as a shelter, and also to place around, particularly the portable toilets around the city for use as well. And also included the purchase of ice machines for people who will be camping or who otherwise have a need for ice, who lost access to refrigerators in the motels. So just an update, the next slide, slide 4 for council up on the dais, is an update on our discussions with the state. So as I mentioned, we met on Monday, June 5th, with representatives from the state to discuss the use of the BOR. I think it was a very productive conversation. The state has issued, they informed us they've issued an RFP for staffing support that closes on June 11th.
Sorry, staffing support just for the BOR or just like statewide help?
Statewide, correct. Yes, thank you, Counselor. So this is because the state also doesn't have an army of people to staff shelters, so they've had to do an RFP for this. We had, like I said, very productive conversation. I think we mutually understand the needs of each party and the need to come to an agreement on the use of the BOR as a potential shelter. So that's the meeting was left with. We're going to have follow-up meetings scheduled, and we both recognize the urgency of getting this done. And we've indicated we will, when they're ready to meet again, we will make ourselves available to do that.
On that point, did the executive order from the governor last week mention the National Guard? Did the AHS talk at all about the National Guard?
That didn't come up in our specific conversations. We were focused more on the RFP for the staffing support. Yep. The other 2 points of the letter of interest, the state also has interest. We've gone back and forth on emails, answering questions about, the sort of the good questions you want to be answering at this stage. Where would they go? Who would own them? The very, grant-focused questions that indicate support to us. They've told us that this is a good idea, and we're just waiting to get the green light to move forward with ordering those facilities and the ice machines.
And did they indicate whether or not we'll be able to start doing that before there's a budget?
No, we did not. That did not come up. Just the green bar there, our general tenor with the state is we want to be part of the solution. We also have to ensure that the potential impacts are mitigated. So I think that both parties mutually understand that. And like I said, very productive conversation, and we're looking forward to continuing that, the meetings with them. So the next slide is really an update on last night's meeting. I'd asked the Homelessness Task Force and Cow Pasture Committee to convene an emergency meeting last night, which I really appreciate. I see Chair Rail here. Thank you, Erica. That was for being there. And I know Chris couldn't be here, but she was present last night as well. And we had I think a really productive public meeting about camping policy. And so just want to lay out for council just with a little bit more detail than a week ago when we discussed this. Some of the basis for this no camping that we've been just talking about for several weeks now. So overnight camping is not permitted in public parks or playgrounds based on ordinance 11-16, which closes those facilities and areas at dusk. It's prohibited in the cow pasture based on the Cow Pastures Management Plan, which was adopted by the council in 2017, I believe. And in Canals Woods, it's restricted by provisions of the deed when it was handed over to the city. And you have here the definition from ordinance for what public parks and playgrounds refers to. So in other areas of the city where encampments are brought to the city's attention, public safety personnel evaluate the site and compassionately lead people to services. So really, the police department is not actively going out to look for encampments. This is not part of the regular routines. If an encampment is reported to us, the police department evaluates it on several factors listed below in the slide here, which is a public health factor, a public safety factor, environmental factor. And then there are interventions that are tiered. And they lead it starts with voluntarily asking people to move on. We've had to do that. We've had an encampment in Canales Woods that our police department had to engage with those individuals, and they voluntarily moved. And that, again, Canales Woods has a deed restriction for camping, for overnight camping. And then the last step there is trespassing, which is, this is in the same ordinance that provides for the closure of parks or playgrounds in the evening, or based on the prohibitions in the cow pasture from its management plan, or Canales Woods from the deed restrictions. So those are the bases for which that the police department uses to act when this is brought to their attention. I had a good question today, like, what does this imply, that there's an encampment that you could come across where it's not moved? It's possible. The reality is that if an encampment is brought to our police department's attention, it is likely triggering one of those factors that would lead to an intervention, right? So that's why, practically speaking, and in practice, what has happened is when they are brought to our attention, one of those factors has triggered an intervention by the police department to help those people move along.
Question on the second bullet.
Yes.
Areas where camping's brought to attention, public safety personnel evaluate the site and compassionately lead individuals to services. And I know we talked about this last week.
Yes. Yes.
Those services are giving them camping equipment.
Yes.
So what this says is homeless people are not allowed to exist in Barre after dark or before sunrise if they are using camping equipment to keep themselves warm or sheltered overnight. That's what this is, and I just think we should be honest about that.
You're right. You're right. I acknowledge that, and I think, as I mentioned last night, Erica's been really good about pointing this out to me, that people are camping in Barre.
Yep.
And I think what the service providers are able to do is they're able to lead people to areas where they can discreetly camp, not just in Barre, and I don't know if they are leading them in Barre, but in other surrounding communities. So we know that's happening. That's not a secret. Those service providers, through their experience, know where there are places where people can successfully camp, and that's where they're trying to lead them. If that's where people are going, the likelihood is that they are not being reported to us because it's happening discreetly, and so we're not getting into any interventions. But your counselor, I fully acknowledge that it is a cyclical and.
So basically, the policy is as long as they're out of sight and out of mind, and we don't have to look at them, then we're good.
I wouldn't characterize it that way.
Well, that's very much how it appears to me. And I want to be clear that no one wants folks camping in Barre or otherwise. No one wants people to be in a congregate space unhoused with nowhere better to go than a park or a forest or something. But that's the situation we're going to be dealing with. And this does not seem to me to be we can say that we're going to compassionately lead individuals to services. You know, we can compassionately arrest somebody too. That doesn't mean that it's the best thing to do for that, or that that's the actual compassionate response or the humane response. So if we're going to be doing this, I just think we have to be very honest about it and not pretend that we are somehow patronizingly saving homeless folks from themselves, because that's not what this is.
On the next slide, there's our zoning speaks to some camping, campgrounds. No, that's fine. So it's on slide 6 for council that has the hard copy. So this is not necessarily an apples to apples, but there is some reference in our zoning to what campgrounds and tents how they would be treated, were they established. And so I'm not going to read all of these provisions, but you can see that generally a parcel that can accommodate more than 3 camping units is considered a campground, and that is then subject to several conditions listed to the right of that box. You can get a permit for 1 camping unit as a principal use of undeveloped lot. That also has additional conditions, as you can see on the left of that box. And campgrounds, once designated, have a whole list of other conditions that go with them, including size minimums, limits on durations of how long a person can be on them. There's also, our Unified Development Ordinance says that short-term accommodations, including tents, are not permitted in the civic district, which is where which all city property lies. So those are the bases for what we've been saying for a couple of weeks now, that there's by default a no camping policy. It is not one document on our website that says there's no camping in Barre. It's through a patchwork of ordinance, management plans, deeds, and zoning that lead us to that statement. So I think last night's meeting, I think was, and maybe Erica will characterize it as well. I thought it was helpful. I thought it was productive. I think we got some important feedback. And what we asked people last night is there on the top of the slide there. This is the exact slides that we had last night, and the prompt we provided, which is there city and or state property that the city should consider for designation for overnight encampments? That was really what we wanted to hear from people about. And we shared that as the staff, as I mentioned, we've been talking about this since April. We haven't identified areas that should be designated for overnight encampments. The factors we've considered are there below. We've looked at proximity to services. We've looked at toilet facilities. We've looked at access to transportation and parking, and we haven't identified it. And I think that in a city 4 square miles, it's maybe not surprising that we haven't identified a place to do it where it wouldn't be an issue. And we also asked last night for feedback about locations where the city could install temporary showers, which this was pretty universal, that those facilities would go up at the BOR should it be used as a congregate shelter. There's not really another good place to put a shower trailer. Portable toilets, I think the consensus here was they would supplement some of the bathrooms at the BOR, but also there are places downtown. I know I've found myself downtown needing to go to the restroom and nowhere to go, so it probably wouldn't be bad anyway to have some portable toilets. So that would be another location for these temporary portable facilities to be placed. So anyway, this was the feedback. I think there was pretty broad consensus that there are no good locations to make an official designation. And I'll go to slide 9 now, which actually lists the consensus of the meeting, that we have a series of bad choices to make, but it seemed that the consensus of the meeting was that we've made the least bad of the multitude of bad choices we have. And so continuing the status quo practices as I described them a couple slides ago was the consensus we heard. There was no consensus on making, there's actually consensus on not making changes to designation of areas of where camping is currently not authorized. So maybe I didn't word that well, but for example, we shouldn't change the designation of the cow pasture. We shouldn't change the areas where it's currently not authorized should continue to stay that way. There was no identification of specific locations to authorize which are not, which aren't captured by those restrictions. And as I mentioned, there was a lot of consensus about where to place portable toilets and showers should the state fund them. And so that's really it for me as an update. Like I said, we're continuing to meet with the state. We likely, we're hoping certainly to meet with them before the 11th, but we likely may not know a whole lot more until after then, when they get the responses back for their RFP for staffing, because that's obviously a key part of making any of this happen. But I think that's the end of my presentation, Mayor.
Good job.
Are there people to straw poll, people that want to speak to this item? See, okay. I'll start with the public Councilor Stockwell, and then loop back to council. So yeah, well, please come forward, and then we'll go to Sarah Hellman online.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sam. I'm a newly Barre City resident. Yeah, I had some questions about this this exodus that's happening from the hotels, and just one question, like when you're saying they're getting redirected or picked up and brought to, how does that look? They're being brought to another campsite, or
And before the manager answers, can we get your last name for the record?
yeah, ACUF,
Acuff.
ACUFF.
I didn't catch your first name.
Sam.
Hey, Sam. So thanks for the question. So we have a community outreach specialist in the police department who's usually the first point of contact with members of the homeless, with an unsheltered person. And what we'll do is we'll work with the myriad of social service providers in the area. So Washington County Mental Health, the Good Sam, Capstone, all those nonprofits who provide services. And we'll usually link them up and lead them to a place where they can discreetly camp. If there are, right now there are no shelter beds, which is part of the reason that, you know, we're in this, one of the challenges in this predicament. We can't lead them to a shelter bed because there aren't any. But what's happening is we're working with those providers to either lead them to a place where they can camp, or to help them materialize some alternate plans. So that our providers are doing great work connecting people with family out of state, friends out of state, where they can go, or other parts of the state where they can, you know, stay with friends and family. We're buying, not we, the city, but the social service organizations buy transportation to get people there. I know they rented a U-Haul for somebody who had found location out of state. So those are the kinds of things that the social service providers can do for the people that they come across.
And some of the places where they are legally allowed to camp, are those places with like good sanitary, like are there kind of cluster or handful of people at these places? Is there?
You know, I can't speak to that directly, but I know that that at many of the places where folks are being led to safely camp, the service providers are regularly checking up on people, and so I'm not aware if there's, you know, what type of portable facilities there are on site or not.
Sorry,
But
Nicholas. Deputy Chief Aldsworth looks like he's.
he might have something. He can probably speak more to this than me. Yeah.
So the Good Sam has two outreach workers that they have engaged those folks. So they've been trying to keep track and register them and help them along into services. With that said, there is two unofficial sites over in Montpelier off of the roundabout. The one site has water and a porta potty. The second site has a porta potty only. Those are unofficial sites, but there have been places where people have been able to go.
So yeah, would it the best or a way that I could help maybe be like reach out to the people at Good Sam and see like what kind of amenities or things I can bring?
Absolutely. Good Sam, Washington County Mental Health, and Erica looks like she another way.
Reach out to me, and I gave you my contact information, and I can, yeah.
Yeah. And another thing I was just curious is like how stringent is like how stringent are the police in terms of like are they stopping at every tent that they see kind of thing?
No, they're not. Our police department's not actively going out to look for the encampments. This is not part of, you know, it's not part of their patrols. It's not the direction that's come to them from both me and the chief is that that's not what they ought to be doing. The most recent incident where there was camping identified in Canales Woods, they approached individuals again, you know, spoke to them, and it's really getting them to voluntarily move on. If someone needs a day or two, you know, that's the kind of thing we're doing. We're trying to work with people, understanding that they're going through probably the worst time in their life, right? So they're just making contact. Or outreach service or outreach specialists usually part of that, and we also try to do it during daylight hours when we can make the contact with service providers along with the police.
Okay. And I had one other question, and that was like if you knew the roughly like the holding capacity of the BOR.
The BOR. Yeah, so we've done a walkthrough with the state of the BOR, and we think it could hold. So I'm going to be very careful with my words here. It could hold up to the 387 people in Washington County if it needed to. We don't expect that it will need to, and so it will be able to manage the Washington County population should it come to that. But again, I want to be very clear that nobody expects 387 people to show up at the BOR. We don't expect it to get that kind of use. But with the state during a walkthrough, we know that it could. So I hope that was very clear. It could hold 387. No one expects it to be that many.
Okay.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam.
So,
Just a reminder, you had Sarah online too.
We're Salty, Barre, Vermont, Barre City taxpayer. My question is there one nickel gonna come out of the Barre City taxpayers?
One nickel going to come out of
Is it
Barre
gonna
City
cost the Barre
taxpayers?
City taxpayers any money to do this?
No,
Not a nickel.
no,
It's gonna come out of the state money.
yes.
It's coming out of our money. What are we paying into the state to do this?
how many billion is the budget now? 5, 6, 8? No, it's 8. 8 billion is the state budget.
How much?
8 billion is the state budget.
Okay.
So I don't know how much is going to this. The governor's office is still putting together a plan.
When will you guys determine that?
When will we determine what?
What's it gonna cost us?
It's not going to cost the city anything extra.
Not a penny.
Not a penny.
Okay, that's all I got. Thank you.
All right, Sarah Holman?
So I have two questions. One, who will be providing maintenance and monitoring the portable showers and toilets? I can sort of foresee that being something like, toilet paper rolls being stolen and things like that. And then my second question is, what's the long-term plan? Because this is clearly a short-term plan. We're looking at September 1 being the drop dead date for the BOR. And then we've got, of course, fall and winter coming. There's a severe housing shortage. What's the long-term plan to mitigate this issue?
So I can address the first one probably. The portable toilets and showers would be rented. It's my understanding that doing so would come with a service contract for the maintenance, cleaning, I don't know, dumping, I don't know what it is, emptying, is that the right word? of the portable toilets. So they would be rented, not owned. That's why we did rentals, because we don't have the staff to manage them. And it would be similar with the portable showers. They would be rented, and we would have to have there would have to be a septic contract to empty them, which to that gentleman's point is part of our ask to the state, so it's not costing the city a penny. So it's built into the letter that we submitted. All those things, the rental fee of the portable toilet and the potential septic cost of having to empty the showers. The long-term question, I don't think I can answer.
No, I don't think any of us can. And if we're being honest, we don't know what the long-term picture looks like.
They just keep putting a Band-Aid on this, and it's clearly going to continue to be something that is going to be an issue. I'm not trying to call it a problem, but I mean, it kind of is, because we're trying to put a Band-Aid on something. The last Band-Aid was the state COVID money to put these folks in hotels, and now we're coming up with another Band-Aid. And I mean, I really would like to see Barre City and the other communities in Vermont working towards some long-term plan to increase the housing availability in this.
Yeah, no, Sarah, I appreciate those comments, and I think it's an honest statement to say that it's not, a long-term plan is not known. at this time, and that municipalities are not agency of human services providers. We don't have an $8 billion budget. We have a $13 million budget, and it's not focused on social service provision. This is us responding to a decision of the state not to step up and have a plan. And we're trying to mitigate impacts to our police department, to our fire department, to our emergency medical services, to our residents. It's not fair, it's not just that the municipalities have to do this, but we're stepping up because we have no other choice but to figure out, okay, there are people exiting what has been a stable housing situation. They're being put on the streets. Some will find alternative situations, many won't, and we know many of them are children. And so I think we're trying to do what we can as a response measure right now, while working with our state partners to try to get to that long-term solution. And certainly the city has been working toward long-term housing solutions. Councilor Stockwell, former Mayor Herring, and I proposed we need to build 100 housing units in the next 5 years. We brought that into this session seriously. I mean, I don't think all councilors were on the same page a year ago. I think maybe now, maybe more and more, but we have put $250,000 into 9 perpetually affordable units. We're fixing up a Habitat for Humanity house. Tom Lozon, Councilor Lozon's leading with the BADC Prospect Heights infrastructure project that could add hundreds of units to the city. There are efforts underway that the Planning Commission is looking at bylaw modernization to see what are the housing rules we could ease up on to build more homes, make it possible to develop in a responsible way. This city's really stepping up, and I'm really proud of the way we're stepping up. And we need the state to step up. That's what this is about.
I 100% agree, and I appreciate you saying that. I think, I mean, it is what it is, but I appreciate the city council trying to figure this out. I just wish the state was doing more.
I see Ellen Kay online.
I just want to say that the Band-Aid analogy is really interesting to me. When someone is bleeding, a compassionate response is to put a Band-Aid on it and then figure out what to do next. And I want this city to be compassionate in the face of this. So yes, this is a Band-Aid because there is a wound.
That wasn't my point.
Any other comments? Okay.
So my job works with dealing with state governments. That is what I do for a living. And I know that a lot of decisions like this are very bureaucratic, right? And so I appreciate Barry coming out and essentially saying, these are the plans that we're trying to put in place. But I 100% understand that this is really a state level issue. And just as easy it is for people to speak in our city county or city meeting to address their concerns, people can also contact the state agency and express their concerns, contact our state leadership and express their concerns and potentially get a little bit more traction on overall decision making. I mean, flood the inboxes, right? But not solely at this level.
Good point. Yeah, and not to belabor the point, this is not being carried by all municipalities equally. Barre City's taking the brunt of this. And we take the brunt of a lot of regional challenges. And that's why we need a fair share approach, a balance that's regionally equitable. And it's so great to have Montpelier and Berlin at the table being a partner in this. I'm just thinking the other thing the city's working on, just to be clear, that we also have a housing task force that came out of the All In for Barre visit. That group meets monthly. They have landlords at the table. They have faith leaders at the table. They've done studies to kind of inform the decisions that are coming to council, and they're going to the Planning Commission. So I think that's another, just another helpful thing that we're working on. And Counselor Stockwell plans to bring a revolving loan fund proposal as a gap financing mechanism for people that might be struggling to stay in their homes. Like, I got an email from an 80-year-old on Tremont Street, tried to sell his house. He was ready to downsize. And he had knob and tube wiring in his house. So the buyer couldn't qualify for conventional financing. That trips up who can purchase that house. And there's some programs that can help. It depends on what type of household you are. But I think my point is the city is stepping up to look at what are the barriers, and how do we make sure good things happen in the housing sphere within our little 4 square miles. And I know the state's stepping up in a lot of significant ways, but on this one, this was just really put on the city, and municipalities without a clear plan. So, all right, if there's no other comments, Councilor Stockwell.
I want to thank Nicholas again for the leadership, well, for the mayor and Nicholas for taking statewide leadership and bringing this issue to the forefront. I really don't think there would be this focus if Barre had not stepped up and said, hey, we have a plan. How is the state going to help us do that plan? That was just amazing. And it's the best that you could possibly do. However, here's what I see is happening. We know there's not going to be enough housing by September. There isn't a lot of building happening in the city. There is no revolving house fund at all. And, I know that people who are developing affordable housing, as far as I know, do not get breaks on the permitting fees. So the 2004 wastewater hookup, the 2004 water, there's no break on that. So it makes the cost, right? And built and construction cost, as I'm sure Tom could speak to much better, have skyrocketed. So the housing doesn't exist, and it's not going to happen. So I think what's going to happen, and this is my fear, is that we close the BOR and people drift for a while, and then they go back to the motels. And they go back to the motels until spring, and then they're back to BOR. And so there's this cycle where we're balancing people between congregate shelters and the motels. They don't acquire any stability. They don't have any stability to raise their families. They're never sure where they're going to live so they can go to work easily. It's a horrible thing to do to that many people who could be contributing to our communities. I think we should consider some sort of regional plan for temporary residential habitats, not camping, but some sort of pod system. Like, I know people are if they're sending people to where the Elks was in Montpelier, that's a possibility. The Two Rivers place is a possibility. We know people are camping through Berlin. We know they're camping through Barre. We could come up with a plan that divides that burden between Barre, Berlin, and Montpelier. That's all.
Any other comments based on the update tonight? I'd echo that. I think, the leadership that staff has put into this and the extra hours, I mean, this isn't how you plan to spend your money by any means. And there's a lot of other projects that we could be focused on if we weren't reacting to a decision of the state. But we appreciate that you're making the most of it, and everybody on staff's working hard to try to find solutions. So, with that takes us to the capital improvement plan implementation update.
Thank you.
And assignment of the FY23 undesignated fund balance to the capital fund to support infrastructure improvements. And we have another PowerPoint presentation.
Yes. I don't know if I mentioned in my interview that I love PowerPoints, but you're gonna learn to love them if you didn't already, maybe.
We like more pictures, though.
I typically don't do this just because there were just a couple questions that came into the chat. Suggestion, if you want to directly help any of these folks experiencing homelessness, reach out to Erica Rail. She's the chair of the Barre City Homelessness Task Force and works for United Way. And the question of how Barre City came up with the $29,000 per day, that was $75 per day per person, assuming the city would host all 387 of those individuals currently in motels. But as the manager said, we don't expect that to actually happen, but for the financial security of the city in dealing with the state, it made the most sense. So
What are
just
we
while we're
answering?
closing that conversation.
Having more discussion?
He was giving
What?
just a.
Erica,
I
she's,
thought we weren't doing
she left, yeah.
comments online.
I typically don't, but I'd rather have folks who want to help homeless people be able to do that.
No,
than
absolutely. I think we
worry
should
about what
all be
we're-
able to. In a
All right, so let's get into this capital improvement plan.
Okay.
update.
1 second, we're getting there. She's slow today. Let's see if it'll work the regular way. One Mississippi. No, okay, I'm just gonna click through it again, Nicholas.
Great, that's fine. Thanks, Teddy, Counselor. So slide one, just this is what the charter says about the capital improvement plan. Just as a reminder, it talks about the preparation, submission timelines, the contents, and provisions for revision and update. Just on the staff level, I would just say that we found this document incredibly helpful. It's guided a lot of our work, and we are constantly looking at it. We're reviewing priorities as they're shifting in terms of within the year and in the way we're assigning staff to projects. So it has been a really helpful document to us in many ways. Slide 3 is just I'll go past this because I know there's a lot of people here to interview for committees, but this is just a timeline if people want to look at later of the development process. Started in June 2022, ended with an approved adoption in 2023. And so in slide 4, just sort of a high level description of like what is in the plan. And right now it's our capital improvement plan has a lot of accumulated capital needs. And a lot of it is trying to address, much of it is trying to address a lot of end of life issues for assets like roofs, boilers, HVAC, the day-to-day bones of buildings that we need to run. So we're trying to get those all repaired, get those on sequences to update, because we were in a situation where a lot of them were coming due all at once. In DPW in particular, we also had a pretty bad cycle of end of useful life for heavy equipment like plows and dump trucks. So we addressed that. I'll mention that a little bit later, but we bought 2 new dump trucks this year that are on order. So that's helping us get into a really good cycle there and replace some aging equipment that does a lot of the work that our residents appreciate, like plowing and helping with the paving and all that sort of work. And we also have some upgrades to our revenue generating assets that we're trying to prioritize as well. They're in need of major upgrades, the OD and the BOR in particular. The BOR has, it's really a roof issue here that's the most pressing, and that's on our radar. We also, just like many other older communities, we just have the day-to-day continuously upgrade of just all the rest of the infrastructure, the water main lines, the sewer and water and wastewater facilities. A lot of the breaks we experience are because of some of this old infrastructure. And so we're also we're trying to address this as we go as well, because that creates cost, it diverts staff from other things that they could be doing. So that's really high level what's included in the plan. We're really, and as I mentioned, the bottom line is a lot of it is the must-haves, and we've prioritized a few key nice-to-haves in this plan. Next slide is just a visual of the needs and the sources. Unfortunately, the needs are the bars, and the resources is the line. So as you can see there's gaps, certainly big gaps in FY in 26, and so we just have huge huge things that we're staring up at to try to figure out how to address. And that particular spike is driven by several high-cost streets projects, and that we have that are pending that will obviously need some state, federal resources to help us pay for.
Is it like bridges or what are the?
Yeah, it's 2.5 million for the Brook Street Bridge replacement and $1 million for 2 retaining wall upgrades. Those are the big spikes there. Yeah.
And even still, just eyeballing it, on top of that, there's still a significant higher amount. Like even after you take out the 2.5.
Yes, it's still
that's still like one of those years.
It's a big year.
those end of life things are starting to overlap more.
Yeah, exactly.
And where in this line would be the public works garage?
So that's not it. That's not even in here. So we have pivoted on the public works garage. We've determined that the facility that was planned was just, we were not going to find a location for it, and it was going to take away potential resources from these other big spikes that we have. So we have pivoted. We've actually visited Newport's facility. Brian Baker and our streets foreman and mechanic visited Newport and Montpelier. We're looking at a simpler facility. We're looking to find a footprint within the existing site where it could fit. We found some really useful, we got some really useful plans and drawings from those communities. So certainly the good news is that, the bad news is that it's not in here. The good news is that the cost of a facility that we're looking at now is significantly lower than the cost we were looking at for the facility that we last discussed, and which was 30 million. Yeah. So we're looking well below that. As I said, the bad news is it's not included in here yet.
What grant money is the city looking for outside of ARPA grant?
Anything and everything, just everything, anything. We will take any grant money we can get.
What are you doing to look for the grants?
So we're working a lot with USDA right now, for example. That's a big resource for us. Our congressional delegation has been very helpful, for example, with the ODD, and we're looking for matches there. So we're looking to apply for state ARPA funds as well through the CRRP program. So those are the things that we're actively doing, but we will we will turn over any leaf that we can that we think that we have the capacity to pursue. Slide 6. So as I said, this has been a really great document for us, planning a lot of work, and we feel really proud of the accomplishments. We've checked off a lot of things in the short time that we've had this improvement plan. And these are some, I'm really focusing on FY23 projects, and that's what I shared with council earlier today, was the FY23 and 24, which has been the real focus of our staff. So we've kicked off the $1 million paving program. We have the 2-year contract. Paving, as I mentioned, is underway on River Street, and the hill behind Cumbies is coming up shortly after that. So that is well underway, and already showing results. We have this week, we will have completed the pool house roof replacement, and not only doing it before pool season starts, but doing it $13,000 under budget. We have ordered a $57,000 Garfield playground structure replacement. So that will be on its way, and the installation will be happening late summer, early fall, of course, depending on supply chain issues. But that is done. The mayor mentioned earlier, we have allocated $250,000 to Granite City Apartments. This is from our ARPA designation for the 9 perpetually affordable units. We are, as I alluded to a little bit earlier, $7,000 of improvements to Rotary Park are underway, and this is to reopen the bathroom facilities there, which had been closed for some time, but we're reopening that, and that'll be projected to be complete hopefully by the opening of the pool.
So we're opening up those facilities again? Are we gonna have cameras up there?
We are.
Okay.
Yeah,
just
cameras,
making sure.
floodlights. We are moving we closed the jails earlier this year, the jail cells. So we are moving the indestructible fixtures from the jail cell to those playground, those bathrooms. They are indestructible. Yeah. So yeah, cameras, floodlights.
You guys don't, there's history behind this. We had the bathrooms opened up years and years ago, and somehow someone destroyed the toilets, like smashed the toilets.
Yeah.
And we ended up having to close it because people are jerks.
Yeah. So we've, and Jeff's here, he's been working with Ryan on the the plans for this. We are, yeah, we're gonna have cameras and a floodlight.
Nice.
And then we
And
also.
public shaming if we find out somebody breaks it?
Sure.
Nope.
We also, Fire and EMS Department completed the purchase of thermal imaging cameras that they use as part of their responses. We had budgeted 4 cameras, they purchased 6, and they did it $25,000 under budget because, you know, we're having people look for the right price and look around. So these are all positive accomplishments from FY23. We also had, next slide, some great accomplishments on the equipment side of the CIP as well. We ordered a police cruiser to replace a 200. It's already in service, and it replaced a 2015 cruiser. The ambulance, the new ambulance, is on order. It is replacing a 2008 vehicle, and council approved a lease finance plan for that. So thank you for that. We have an events trailer, which is now in service. It's new to the fleet. This is for helping us move barricades, et cetera, around the city, and just not just events response, but emergency response as well. And then we have $449,000 were allocated to the purchase of 2 plow trucks. These are also ordered, and they are replacing vehicles from 2010 and 2011. Also paid through with the lease finance that the council approved earlier this year. And we replaced one DPW, just a regular truck. It's in service now as well, replacing a 2009 vehicle, and some message boards as well received. And that is some new equipment for our, will be used by multiple departments. So again, just a lot of, we checked off really just about everything in 23 that was on tap. And we've been meeting, so Don and I are the sort of the holders keepers of this plan, and we meet regularly. This is a standing agenda item for us every other week with the department heads. Where are you? What's going on? Where are you in 24? Are you moving forward on these projects? Give us an update. And so this is, I think, been really helpful. And all of our 24 work is on our radar. We obviously haven't gotten started on the specifics of those yet, but it's all planned, and it's what we know that we have to get working on in the coming year. So slide 8 gets us to the meat of the ask of the council tonight. So as just a reminder, the charter, section 601B of the charter authorizes a 5% unexpended fund balance as part of our budget. And that we can hold for future use, and it does require council approval to designate that. So our FY24 budget is $13,728,343, which under the charter allows a 5% undesignated fund balance of $686,417. Our current fund balance is $641,817. So what we're asking council tonight to consider is to basically top off that 5%, so add $44,600 to our current fund balance, get us to the 5% that we're allowed to carry over, and allow us to and formally approve the carryover to FY24. We're expecting additional unspent funds. And we're asking for council to designate up to $180,000 of additional unspent funds that we expect above the amount we'd be carrying over, to designate that now for the capital fund to address those out-year gaps that you could see on the chart. And then if an additional up to $170,000 additional would be designated and earmarked evenly as a savings for both our public works garage and the match for the odd improvements that were funded by Senator Sanders' congressionally designated spending grant. So this is our financial picture now. I mean, I think when we talked about the fund balance before, you know, we have a fund balance because of primarily driven by vacancies. I think if you talk to any of the staff, if you ask me, we'd rather not have the fund balance, and we'd rather have the staff. But knowing that we have the fund balance, we think it's prudent to make these to carry over the fund balance, the 5% into next year, and to also make these designations so that we can use them for really pressing needs that we have, and frankly, that will help us close some funding gaps in our capital improvement plan. So we are.
Sorry, Nicholas, just
Yeah.
the 44,600, that is coming from, for lack of a better term, future fund balances.
No, I mean, we basically have we have current fund balance of 641.
Yeah.
So we're adding, we have unspent funding this year and way above and beyond that. So
That hasn't been, okay.
that has not been designated.
Yep,
So,
yep, that's what
yeah,
I was trying to,
you got
okay,
it.
yep.
And Dawn, Dawn is on the call. If I explained that poorly, I'm sure she'll.
Yep, you got it right.
Yeah. So I think we wanted to show that, to share with you that we are moving significant progress. We know this is a big ask of the council, but I think that we've shown that we're making significant progress on the capital improvement plan. I think if we have the resources to continue to do so, we will continue to make that progress. And as you can see, the gaps don't get better in the out years. So these are resources that could really support some important infrastructure improvements for us down the road. So
before we jump into maybe the questions, and then we can talk about if they should be bundled or taken up separately, I just wanted to note that upon nomination of the capital plan by Carol, the Vermont Bond Bank, the city was recognized by the Vermont Bond Bank and the state treasurer, Pichek, as having the capital plan of the year for the state, which is a great accomplishment, and certainly has been no small lift by anybody involved to get to this point. I did have just one question about the items in the plan related to the auditorium update. So it looks like
I'm gonna
there's
stop sharing screen.
1.25 million in USDA loans that are programmed. We have about 3 in congressionally designated, or a little over 3 in congressionally designated spending. Well, a little bit more in USDA loans. How do those loans work? Like,
So,
is that in?
so we haven't formally applied for them. That is our I would call fallback option for funding that match.
Okay.
So if we cannot identify additional funding to meet the match that is required, which is 2.8, Don, I believe. What we would do, we've talked to USDA and they've said that an option for us would be to get it's a low interest USDA loan. So we have that sort of there as a fallback option. If we're able to identify other sources, those would be preferable. And one of the ways we're trying to identify additional sources is through this the earmarking, so to speak, of some of this fund balance.
Well, one of the things I'd like to see long term is the move the recreation into more of an enterprise fund, because it's a regional recreational amenity. It's not just Barre City. Barrytown uses a lot, and it'd just be nice to see how much is getting, how much of a subsidy it's getting versus how much is coming in for revenue. Just so we're really transparent about that and compare it to what is a amenity that serves Barrytown too. What that balance looks like for Barre City taxpayers. But I know that's a bigger budgetary thing. So. Councilor Deering?
I was just curious if we were looking at revenue generators for the BOR or the OD, as far as maybe new services or events or things of that sort, and agencies or organizations to work with in order to get those things done.
Yeah, and I think the turf. I mean, I think we're looking at the options of some turf at the BOR. I think that would certainly expand the use throughout the year and expand the types of uses throughout the year. So I know, Jeff, we've sort of kicked this idea around, and I think if we can find a partner on this, that would be a great opportunity for expanding the use of the BOR specifically. It would, it would open up, for example, indoor soccer, and a whole other sorts of recreational activities that perhaps can be played certain times of the year here. Because as I understand it, that can go down on ice. Yeah. So. Yeah.
The other thing is, it's not so much sports driven, as it is other uses. Once you got that turf in there, you could have bocce tournaments, you could have indoor badminton,
Dodgeball.
you could even rent it out for, birthday parties. There's a multitude of things you can do once you get there.
That's on the horizon. That's certainly one idea, and it would certainly expand the use of that site quite a bit.
And is that something that people would be looking to possibly pursue?
I think we're at the staff level, we're interested. We don't have a specific proposal at the council now, but we're certainly interested in, I think we'd have to partner with someone to
So
do
if you
something
had a
like that.
proposal, would you consider it?
We'd absolutely bring it to the council. Absolutely. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Yep.
There are questions on items in the capital plan?
I just think a bocce tournament sounds like a great idea. I haven't played bocce in years. That would be awesome.
Revenue.
I'm always looking for somebody to play bocce on Front Porch Forum the other week.
There we go.
There you have it. All right.
So what is the anticipated surplus? Is it, so we're anticipating a surplus of 400,000?
Oh, yeah, above, in that ballpark, right, Don? That's.
Give me 1 second. Yeah, my current projected surplus right now is 225,000, give or take. So anything can happen between now and the end of August when I officially close the books. If ambulance revenue jumps up, if overtime takes a spike, one big fire and we could find ourselves going in the other direction using that surplus. So that was my conservative number. And that's why I recommended anything to Nicholas, anything 350,000 and over would go back to the taxpayers.
So
That's
we're
where I'm-
anticipating 225. We're allocating 50 back to hit the 5% target, which brings that 275 back to 175.
180, yep.
180, yeah. So it's,
well, 175, just doing the math. So we'll likely not do the 180 and the 170 because we're certainly, if you're projecting, and you're pretty accurate, Don, so I realize everybody hedges their bets, but you're also pretty accurate. So if you're projecting 225 now, the odds of us hitting 400, and where I'm getting the 400 is the 44, and remember I round up, the 44 and the 350. So the odds of us hitting 400 are probably not, based upon your past accuracy, probably the odds of us hitting 400 are not very good.
Everything would have to fall in line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
And things just seldom do.
Yeah,
so,
oh, sorry.
Okay, and you know, I mean, you all know where I'm gonna end up. I struggle with it, and the only reason is because I'm old, and because I served as mayor for quite a number of years, and under my administration, we finally convinced the voters to allow us a 5% surplus. Way back in the day, you know, going back in the 70s, and I wasn't around in the 70s. The city actually couldn't have any surplus. If you had a surplus, you had to give it back to the voters the following year. And so we struggled at times. We would, if we ran a deficit, we would have to make that up in the tax rate, and our tax rate was all over. So the council and I at the time convinced the voters that, look, it's prudent to have a small surplus, or, you know, a rainy day fund in case a fire truck dies, and they let us do that. And I remember person after person who were in opposition sitting there and looking at me and saying, you know, you're just going to figure out, you're not really going to give us this money back. If we give you 5%, you're going to take more. You're going to take more. You're not going to give it back. And at that time, I gave my word. And I said, no, if there is any surplus in excess of 5% of our budget, I will, you know, as long as I'm here, my vote will always be to give it back to the taxpayers. And I'm not saying that you're making bad decisions. You're not. I'm fully supportive of the capital plan and everything that you're doing. I personally, I'd like to see some sort of charter amendment saying the following year we go back to the voters and we ask permission. That's all. Because to me, it's like, giving you a $5 bill for milk, and milk is $4.99, and I know that. And you go to the store for me, but milk is on sale that week. It's $3.99. And you hand me my milk and a penny, and then I find out it was on sale, and and I'm like, well, where's my extra dollar? And you say, well, look, you got your milk. I mean, so that's just sort of, I will be a no vote on this, and only for that reason. It's not that I'm not fully supportive, Nicholas, of the good work that you're doing and have done consistently. It's just that old habits die hard. So I'd love to see some sort of charter requirement that says before we go keeping any excess from operations, we're going to ask if you look at the broad support that our capital plan and our paving plan has had, I'm hard pressed to think that our voters would say no. So, but thank you. Good work. Good job.
Counselor.
Definitely understand that the principal position, and just for the record, this has been vetted through our auditor and through our attorney as a valid practice. It's to me, it's more like you go to the store, they don't have milk. We're trying to get people to work, and we're trying to buy something else and amending the spending plan and spending it on capital items and on something else instead, by transferring from the general fund to the capital fund and assigning the unspent fund balance to be carried over in accordance with the charter. Yeah. Other questions? Yep.
So I was wondering about the BOR, and whether or not, like, if the state comes through with like money for that homeless thing, can we use some of that toward the Sanders match? Where do we stand on that stuff?
Yeah, I think that would be probably one of the first places that we would allocate that funding.
Yeah, that's cool. Okay. And the second thing I would just say is that I almost got up and spoke like during your report and then during the homeless thing, and now you're doing a great job, man. Like, I mean, like, our the South End Cumbies, like the way that the roads guys like clean that up over there, and just all over the city, like all the energy that's going on and fixing the place up is awesome. Leading through a hard time, like, it's easy to lead when the sun is shining, but this is not that. And I've followed this story, and you're doing great. So I don't know. I mean, I would just, I just think we should just do whatever he says. If he says he wants
Careful.
Well, we have a motion.
Thanks, Jesse.
I have an actual question. Not that wasn't
Actual question?
Well,
Councilor
more,
Walker.
I shouldn't say an actual question. I have lots of actual questions and comments. The way the motion is drafted, I guess it's more for Carol. Assuming one made this motion as presented, does this language cover, like, assign the 44.6, and then if that happens, assign 180, and then if that happens, 170? Do you know what I'm asking?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because the
And then if that happens, give the rest of the money back to the
Yes.
voters.
Yeah.
And so there should
Yes,
actually
yes.
be a 4 there.
There should be,
Yeah.
actually, there should be a fourth. Yeah, you're right, because I agree with you on that one. So can I just say I make that motion, or do you need me to read it?
yeah,
So
no, I can.
what's bullet point 4? Just
Returning anything after that,
Returns.
5%.
well, after the 5% plus the 180 plus the 170,
Correct.
right? And then after that, return.
So
Second.
return any additional unspent funds.
Beyond.
Beyond.
Use any additional unspent funds beyond the items
1 through 3.
included in 1 through 3, towards the FY 24,
25.
25, excuse me, FY 25 tax rate.
Correct. That is my motion.
Second. I'll still vote against it. But I'll
all
second
right.
it.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Seems like it should be good.
All right. Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
No.
You guys have it, motion carries. We are on to item C in the agenda, which is volunteer appointments and reappointments. Thanks, everybody, for your patience. So, yeah. Yeah, Sonia Spalding.
Can I make a general comment before we get into communities
Sure.
regarding this agenda item?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, thank you. So my name is Sonia Spalding, and I'm a Barre City resident and taxpayer. I am here to, first of all, thank all of the people who've applied for positions and the people who are currently serving. I say that because I'm probably going to say something fairly unpopular, but I'm here to encourage the council to appoint people who are from Barre City. I recognize that there maybe have been vacancies in the past and they have been filled by people from other communities. And I would just strongly encourage the council to consider that you represent Barre City, and the people who are here that want to participate on a committee should be given, that are from Barre City should be given some preference, if you will. And so I will just leave it at that. Thank you.
Okay, does anybody know how many Barre City people get to serve on Barre Town boards, committees, or commissions? Nobody knows?
Leads one to wonder.
Well, it leaves you one to wonder, yeah, absolutely. So, all right, so that takes us to first the Buildings and Facilities Committee. We have 1 2-year term, and we have one applicant who's an incumbent, Frank Gagne. Yep. Gagne, sorry about that, yep.
So, yeah, I've been on that committee probably 12, 14 years. I'd like to remain on it, at least for another couple more years to see this money. We're got a lot of stuff going on up there with the auditorium and the Bernie Sanders money, and I've done just about everything on the board, chair and secretary, and so I was a coach for 12 years at the at the BOR and stuff like that, coaching hockey and stuff. So. I don't know if you guys have any
Yeah,
questions.
you had me at hello, so moved.
Say
I said, yeah, you had me at hello, so moved.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further questions or discussion? So just the projects that you're looking forward to, the fix up with the progression. Anything else going on programmatically that you want council to be aware of?
Well, we just, you guys brought up the turf thing, which I think is a great idea. And we have some money that we could probably filter into that. And I think, like I said, we tried that back, I don't know how many years ago that was, maybe 8, 9 years ago, to try to do something like that. But stuff is expensive, but I think that it's a good move for the summer and for lacrosse and everything else. So I think that's definitely a good idea.
Well, and one thing I said to John when he was in, and I'm forgetting the other, I wasn't Charlie, but that it'd be great to just beef up that enterprise through recreation program revenues. A lot of other municipalities bring in much more revenue than Barre City does, even without a building.
Yeah.
Like for instance, Colchester's $800,000 a year in revenue, covering the cost of their programs. And that's one thing I would really love to see be a focus of the committee, just to spread out the costs a little bit and take our dollars farther.
Yeah, I mean, even stick and puck, the kids love that during school time, and we don't seem to have that anymore like we had before. So I think that we try to push for stuff like that. So I totally agree with using the auditorium and these facilities a little bit more for the youth and whatever we can do. I mean, we push it hard. So
great. Well, there's a motion and a second, and Carol had something.
I was just gonna say, it'd be interesting to know what that other community has for staff.
They do. They invest in it, right? And
Yeah, no, but I'm saying,
so,
and
yeah.
what that cost is offset by what they take in for revenue, so.
Yeah. It's in their audit,
Yeah.
and I've looked at it. All right, that takes us to the motion. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it.
all right, thank you.
All right. Next up is cemetery recreation and.
Go ahead. I think I'll
follow the.
Oh, okay.
I'll just follow the
because
Agenda.
The agenda says cemeteries.
All right. I changed it up in the council packet memo just based on.
Do you want me to switch up? Okay, well, we can do Development Review Board, Ward 3. We have 2 seats. We have 2 incumbents. 1 4-year term, and 1 seat for a 3-year unfinished term. We have Katrina Pokey first. So, right?
Yeah, and then
We have one incumbent and one vacancy, so I'm pleased to hear.
Oh, one incumbent, one vacant. Okay, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you.
How are you?
I am fine.
DRB schedule's been a little bit busier these days.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I've noticed. So, yeah, why do you want to continue serving on the DRB?
Well, I've found since July of 2019, it's been a very interesting thing to be involved. Just a little section of Barry's operation, and while you know, we sometimes hit some pretty naughty questions because of the nature of our work, but I've enjoyed it very much.
Thank you. Is there are there any questions or a motion?
So moved.
Question
Question
online.
I see, is it Linda Shambo?
Yes, thank you. I'm presently the chair of the DRB, and I'm here to support the reappointment of Christina. She's been a very good addition to the board. She's very thoughtful. She's well prepared. She always attends unless she lets us know she's unable to do so. And she contributes appropriately. She's very polite, considerate, concerned about the applicants and the city of Barre. So I would like to see her reappointed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Linda.
Councilor Deering.
So I see you've lived in the city for 24 years. It's on your application. It says you've been years at your address, 24 years. What is one of the more, Ms. Pelkey, correct?
That's right. Moved here in '99 from Montpelier.
Okay. So being on the DRB right now, what do you think is one of the more exciting or one of the best things about that's going on right now? You guys get a lot of stuff going on. So I just wanted to know if there was anything in particular that you guys were working on that you found maybe that we should be aware of, or.
I can't say really that there is. Maybe Linda would be more proper as the chairman to answer that question. Sometimes we're dealing with things that month and find ourselves having to make a decision. I think the general feeling is to not delay decisions in terms of tabling things, rather than give the applicant as much a fair hearing as we can give them at that time. They're coming with expectations of either rejection or acceptance, and then they've got a time span to actually execute things. And so that's a time, there is a time schedule for the applicant afterwards.
Well, thank you.
There are no further questions. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second. Motion by Councilor Stockwell, second by Councilor Lozon. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, thank you for your service.
Thank you.
All right, that takes us to Colin Doolittle, who's applying for the seat of the 3-year unfinished term on the Development Review Board.
and the TPW as well.
Okay. And
So that's,
doing an interview for both.
I assume we could do both.
Okay, got it. Yeah, absolutely. All right, is Colin here?
He's on.
Yeah, hi there.
Zoom.
Hey, Colin, welcome.
Thanks.
Yeah, so you would be first applying to represent Ward 3 on the Development Review Board, and then also to be on the Transportation Public Works. If you just want to talk a little bit about your motivations.
Sure. My hope and my intention would be to be on the DRB. I wasn't sure how much interest there would be or what kind of qualifications you guys were expecting, so that's why I put down the transportation as well. Just a little bit about my background. I've worked in Barre City for the past 15 years. I bought a investment property here 8 years ago, and then I moved here, I guess 4 years ago. So in that time, I've grown to know the city. I've grown to enjoy it, appreciate it. I would like to see it grow. I think there's a lot of potential here in town. I have met a lot of younger folks moving here because it's affordable. And I'd like to see more of that. I have 4 kids, 2 stepkids, 2 of my own. They're all, the 2 stepkids are already on their own and they would like to stay in Vermont, and finding affordable housing has been an issue for them despite being employed and partnered up and all that. So I think participating in the DRB, obviously I don't know a whole lot of what's been in front of them, but I would like to think that I could devote my energies to furthering that goal. I have experience in the utility industry, the HVAC industry. I have developed a couple of buildings, both mostly up in Calais, where I used to live. That's my story.
Sounds like a great fit with the DRB. Did you want to talk at all about the Transportation Public Works, or are you just interested in having one seat or both seats?
I'm only interested in having one. I got enough going on.
Okay.
That 2 would be a stretch. So
Understood. It sounds like it. It sounds like you're familiar reading a code book and applying rules fairly.
yes, absolutely.
So,
Yep.
all right. Any questions for Colin?
So moved.
Motion to approve.
Second.
And a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thanks for stepping up to serve. It's great. I
Yeah,
know
thank you.
that Ward 3 seat has been vacant a while. I remember running into Mrs. Pelkey in your front yard and you telling me this. So, all right.
Thanks, guys.
So that takes us to Transportation and Public Works. We have 1 applicant, and remaining, that's Joanne Reynolds. She's an incumbent, and it's for a 2-year term. And Joanne, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Can you hear me okay?
We sure can.
Great. So I am a Barre City resident. I've been here for almost 10 years now. I'm very involved in the community. I volunteer for one of the businesses downtown, as well as volunteer for this committee for the city. I served for the past 2 years on what was formerly called the Transportation Advisory Committee, and I'm really happy that you merged us and gave us a new name because it seems to be more fitting. I'm interested in continuing on the committee because I learned a lot in the last couple of years, and I'm excited about the new DPW director. He seems to have a good handle on, for someone so new to the city, he seems to have a good handle on the priorities and what needs to happen. And I'm hopeful that we can continue on our quest to make Barre a safer city for people who drive here, walk here, and bike here. My husband and I walk every single day throughout the city. And so we have really eyes on the road in terms of what's going on. And I'm excited about some of the money that I see that the city is planning to invest on making some things safer, some areas of the city safer. I happen to live on the 7th most busy street in the city. So my goal is to get everybody to slow down and to get everybody to stop for people when they're in the crosswalks, because I watch the kids walk to school every morning and I see them, cars whizzing right by them and not stopping. But ever since they put up a couple of new signs and painted the lines back on the roads, I've noticed that people have been kinder and have been stopping. So I'm excited, and I think we've got a lot of good work to do over the next couple of years.
Thanks,
Questions?
Joanne. Are there any questions? All right. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Any further discussion or last questions? Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? The ayes have it. Joanne, thank you for your service on the TAC.
Thank you.
All right, and now I'm jumping into the right order as I jumped out of order. The Homelessness Task Force. We have 1 seat with a 2-year term, and we have 1 seat with a 1-year unfinished term. And probably, I suspect it's Chip that's applying for the 2-year term.
I mean, people didn't indicate which seat they were applying to, but he would be, as the incumbent, I think would probably make sense there.
Okay, all right. Chip, welcome.
I don't
Are
see
you there?
him. I don't see him online.
We're supposed to be on Zoom tonight, so.
All right. Well, if we can jump to Jeremy Spyro Wynn. Jeremy, welcome. Thanks for making time tonight. I know it's been a long meeting. So.
Yeah, all good. Thanks for having me. I'm Jeremy Spyro Wynn. I have to confess, I'm a pretty darn new resident of Barre City. I've actually only been here about a few months. But the issue of homelessness, I think, is an extremely important one, an extremely overlooked one. It's treated as a nuisance as opposed to a problem of resulting from a variety of outcomes from choices that we as a society and governmental institutions have made. And I saw that there were vacancies available, and I figured I could probably help in one way or another.
Great introduction. Are there any questions?
Yep.
So what brings you to Barre?
So I've lived in the area for the past year. My wife and I actually went to UVM years and years ago, and so we kind of left, boomeranged back after we decided we missed Vermont. And we've got lots of friends and family throughout the area as well. Barre itself, we just sort of liked the town, to be honest. There wasn't a tremendous amount beyond that. For lack of a better word, it's kind of got a vibe we like.
I only asked because, we had some concerns about residency. And so I just wanted, just to clear the air and make sure that we have some residency question type things.
Oh, yeah, no. Yeah, I mean, we bought a house here.
No, and I don't care.
Yeah.
I just want to ask.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Because you have on your application, you've been in Barre a month.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to know how long you had been in the city for, or, living.
Yeah.
So that's helpful.
Yep.
Where did you find the opportunities for the commissions?
Let's see. My wife mentioned that there were a bunch of commission spots available, and then I looked on the website. I think that was the long and short of it.
No, fair enough.
Motion to approve.
Second.
Wait, let me rephrase this. So I'll motion to approve Chip for the 2-year term, no offense, only
No,
because he's an
okay,
incumbent.
understandable.
And then you for the 1-year term.
Second.
Right, there's a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Great, sir. Yeah. All right, so that takes us, ticks off homelessness task force. The last one we have tonight is, the second to last one. I think you put that one in this last one, yeah. I'm sorry about the mix up, but, we'll do the police advisory committee next.
So
Well, we still have cemetery.
before,
Yeah, we will, we'll look back at that, yeah.
before we move on from the cemetery, I think Sam had a question.
Yeah, I had applied to be on the homeless task force back in November, and then there was conversation about like joining committees. So that was put on the back burner, and then I was under the impression that my application was still kind of in the mix, and didn't realize I had to reapply. So I am interested in, officially being part of the homeless task force. I've been attending on an informal basis for a few years now.
Well, there will be another round for vacant seats after this round. Since we're gonna be on a routine cycle, it sounds like this application got lost. in the
Yeah,
mix.
I think Sam's right. The application, I think, came in November. And I think at that point we said, my assistant handled it and said that we were waiting for the reset to be done. Sam probably, I think it's on our end. We probably should have flagged it when the process started, but we didn't. It probably just was too long of a lag between when we received it. But you're right. It's a miscommunication. I apologize for that.
So is there still a seat available?
Vacancies left.
Oh, there's no vacancies left.
Right, and not that I want to discourage people from participating in the group. I mean, it is something that I've been pretty active in for a handful of years. I'm very dedicated to the cause. I'm part of the All In for Barre task force. very active landlord in the area, supporting affordable housing. So this is something that I'm pretty passionate about. So I'm not sure if there's anything that we can.
Not tonight, but thank you, thank you for pointing this out. I'm really sorry that the application got lost in the mix and we weren't able to figure this out when the most recent notice moved out. But now the committee has been filled, and so it would take an amendment to the composition of the committee, and we'd need to notice that. But Sam, I know how valuable your contributions are on the housing task force. I know Councilor Stockwell does too. We attend those meetings. We see the contributions you're making, and it shouldn't stop you at all from showing up to the homelessness task force meetings. They're very informal. I think Chair Rail would welcome any input or advice that you want to bring to the table, particularly in the middle of this current crisis. And but I think we're not going to shuffle the table tonight.
Right. And I'm absolutely not going to stop participating just because I'm not officially on the committee. But I would like to at least be on the email list because I'm not consistently getting the correct links for the meeting, which has been a habitual issue. So, that has stopped my virtual participation in a lot of those meetings.
It sounds like duly noted, right?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if, I'll talk to Erica if she has a list. I mean, the agendas go up on the website, so
Yeah,
I
I
don't know
attended.
if Erica makes a point of sending them out to other people who participate, but if you are
That link
checking the
didn't work last
website.
month. I mean,
What's
the
that?
multiple months and the link has not always worked. So.
And so we'll address, I think if it hasn't been addressed,
Okay.
it'll be addressed.
Okay.
But yeah.
Okay.
Thank you,
Excellent.
Sam.
Thank you.
Right. So that takes us to the Police Advisory Committee. The first name up is Bob Nelson. He's currently serving as the chair. He's the incumbent. We have three seats with 2-year terms, and we have 3 incumbent applicants. Chair Nelson.
Good evening.
Good evening.
There's a request to turn the fan speed down a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't know how to turn the fans off.
The fans? Oh, good. I was gonna reach over, but I was afraid I'd turn the lights off, so.
All right.
Those things are so loud.
Good evening. And while I am not a resident of the city, I do have a small presence here on Main Street. My wife and I have 3 properties in Barre City, and we have 14 rental apartments and a business. My family's been here in business since 1969. I'm happy to be chair, have been elected chair of the committee the last, I guess, 3 years. I can tell you that I feel like we've been relatively successful, particularly since Chief Vale has come on. We have passed, since March of 2022, we have reviewed and passed 41 separate policies and procedures. So I'm very proud of the work that the committee has done. Chief Vale has been amazing with his work on the policies. They're clear, they're concise, they protect the city, the residents, the officers, and the dispatch personnel equally. He's able to answer questions on technical terminology or state statute terminology. He's able to dumb it down for me so that I can understand what the exactly it's trying to say, even though I may not understand the statute language. He's done a great job of that. And I can say that Sandy and Abby, who are also up for reappointment, along with Steve, Kristen, and Councilor Wozniak, have all done excellent work. I'm very fortunate to have dedicated and committee members to help do the job. I will say that it's interesting in going through these policies. It really gives you an idea that when an officer is responding to a call, all the many, I say, we're at 41, and Chief Vale emailed me today and said that we have 6 more that we're going to be looking at on Monday out of a stack that he has left for us to review. All of these things, I can't imagine what must go through an officer's mind when they respond to a call. There's so much in there, and I think they should be applauded for the hard work and the good job that they do for this city. And, you know, sometimes they have a second to try to process all the different things that are in each of these policies. So I wanted to say that. I'm happy to answer any questions you might have.
Thank you, Bob. And we've gotten all those policies that have come through council. What an impressive body of work. And thanks also to the leadership of Councilor Wazazak and the chief for working toward that goal of making those policies open and on the books. Who wanted to go first?
I
Councilor
don't have a
Wazazak?
question. I just wanted to add, when Bob says that the committee has gone through 41 policies, it's not we read through it once and Bob says, do you have any questions? We go through every single one of those policies, line by line, word by word.
Sorry.
Which is, and that's a compliment, which is a compliment. And he has always been, you know, we don't agree on everything when it comes to police policies or practices, but he's always gone out of his way as chair to make sure that my feedback is not just heard, but encouraged and welcomed. And so I've really enjoyed working with Bob as the chair.
So start off with a compliment. Thank you so much for all your work on the chair, as the chair of the committee, and all the policies that your group has put together with Chief Vale. Really, it's amazing to see all the things come through. And like you said, to have an officer have to process this information in a split second, it gives a lot of kudos to those who are protecting us and serving our community. My question to you is, what do you think has been the best policy that you've seen come through?
Well, it's interesting in the last, and I think Nicholas passed this on, the last batch of policies that we did, they were kind of heavy. How to deal with people in mental health crisis, domestic violence. And, you know, some of the policies are how to write a ticket. You know, they need to be there. They're not very exciting, but you got to make sure that all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed and it meets statute and that it's easily understood. Some of these were kind of heavy, and I don't want to say that those were the best policies to answer your question, but those are the ones that have stuck out in my mind because they deal with difficult situations and really, again, cemented in my mind how difficult it must be, not only for the person who is in need of help, but also to the responders and how they have to handle the situations. So you know, it's not good for anyone. So those are the ones that stick out in my mind, Counselor.
Thank you so much for putting the time and effort into those situations.
I can tell you that I don't want to say it's an easy job because it isn't, but I will say that with the quality of the policies that Chief Vale provides and the quality of the committee and Counselor Wazazak, it goes very smoothly, and I feel very fortunate.
Councilor Bruton?
Yeah, so it's my understanding these are CALIA policies, the majority of them, which is I know that Chief Vale was from Hartford, which they were going through their accreditation process. So I just wanted to point that out. They're excellence in policing.
All right, if there are no further questions, is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Anything else? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Thank you all.
Yep. That takes us to the next, is Cindy Roos.
Good evening,
Cindy.
everyone.
Yeah, how are you?
I'm pretty well, and you?
Yeah, thanks for being here. If you want to just tell us a little bit about why you want to be reappointed.
Sure. So first of all, I want to comment and kind of piggyback on what Bob said with regards to Chief Vale and what he actually brings to the committee. He certainly brings a wealth of experience and knowledge And in addition to that, a lot of the work we're doing is around policies and the work he brings from the town of Hartford. But in addition to that, I do believe he has a pretty extensive experience in working with a lot of the challenges that we face on a regular basis and really tries to balance his perspective on those from a public safety perspective, but also from our community perspective. So that is a really positive thing to be able to be working with when we have these committee meetings. In addition to that, I bring a pretty broad perspective with regards to public safety. I come from a family where my dad was a police officer and worked in a department where they were really able to manage the challenges that they face on any given day with the different calls that they have, a lot having to do with mental health, domestic violence, etc. And I'm also the CEO of Central Vermont Home Health and Hospice. So I see it from a very different perspective through those eyes as well with our staff and really trying to help those members of the community that need our services and also balance all these other things that come into play. So I've had the opportunity to be sitting on the committee with multiple members with multiple perspectives. And also I work directly with some of the public safety members through our work with regards to really trying to conquer some of these challenges to really meet people where they're at.
Thank you, Sandy. Any questions?
Motion to appoint.
Second.
Motion and a second to appoint. Any further discussion? Hearing seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. Thank you, Sandy.
Thank
And our
you.
third
Have a good night.
seat thank you, you too. Third seat for the Police Advisory Committee is Abby Blum. Or is it Bloom?
It's Bloom.
Blum. Okay, yeah.
It's fine. I also want to kind of piggyback at what Bob has said, especially about, with Chief Vale and how precise he is and everything that he brings to the table. It's very easy to understand, especially with all the policies and procedures and steps that I wouldn't even have thought of. All of us have done an amazing job, and I've been living in Barre for 7 years now. I come from Providence, Rhode Island, and I have kind of like a bigger city scope of things. So it's kind of awesome to see how a smaller town operates and runs, the community. And I've got to say between Chief Vale and all the police that are on the department, they're very community oriented. They think about the people. And we were discussing about having police walk, have a couple of officers walk through town and get to know absolutely everybody. And it's just a pleasure to be working with everybody on all this. And I would like to continue to stay and, as long as I possibly can, because it's an amazing opportunity to see how the town's run.
Thank you, Abby. Are there any questions?
Motion
To appoint.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing and seeing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it. You're appointed again. Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
So that takes us to the last item is the cemetery recreation and conservation. And in this case, we have a couple of updates of people, I think, who withdrew based on seeing how much competition there was for, I don't think we expected this to be as popular as it ended up being, but.
Yeah, there were initially 5 seats up because of the number of incumbents that were on this committee. Actually, I'm sorry, there were 7 seats up initially that were open. 5 of the incumbents decided not to reapply, and so that, based on the council's reset, because this committee had been merged and had a large number of members, those seats were attrited out. So that's why we're down to 2 seats after those 5 incumbents dropped out. And we've had Norina told us she was unable to be here tonight. She's one of the incumbents. So she's expects to be able to be available on the 20th for an interview. And then Pam Wilson, Jordan Hayden withdrew. And I will make sure I'll get those communications to the council. They emailed me with their rationale, so I will make sure those are forwarded. But otherwise, Eileen Galander, Haley Pero, Sonia Spalding, and Catlin Allen are are, I think, here to interview.
And I think what we'll do is, since we're not gonna be able to interview everybody tonight, not make motions tonight, wait until we've gone through all the interviews, and then make a decision on 6:20. So, but we'll do the interviews tonight. Welcome.
Very good. Hi, Eileen Galander. I am an incumbent, and I can't remember how many years I've been on the committee. I'm a retired Spalding High School English teacher. And after doing a large theater project for the Granite Association for Hope Cemetery, I became very, very interested in the cemetery itself. And in 2010, I became the Hope Cemetery tour guide. And at that point, I realized that I needed to have a say, and the cemetery needed to have a voice. And I wanted to be that voice, so I joined the committee, and I would like to continue.
Thank you, Eileen. Are there any questions?
I can get a testimony for her. As I had her in as a teacher. I'm sorry.
No, I was gonna ask a separate question.
Oh.
I didn't know you were serious.
No, I mean, I had her as a teacher in high school, and actually.
So did I.
I was actually talking about you last night, and I quoted the poem that you forced us to remember. It was great.
Thank you for remembering.
The only question I had about, the one thing I've been curious about with the cemeteries, and I'll ask, is, there's been a lot of change in the cemetery business. More people are looking for natural burials, the cremation rates are up. I know the committee was looking at dog leash policies, but are you looking at any of the changes to the economics of cemeteries and what the consumers are looking for in as these trends change?
I'm not sure I'm qualified to answer that question. I'm sure most people now, you'll see them looking for cremations instead of full burials.
Yeah.
But I don't really know how to go into that. any
Okay, I was
further.
just curious if the committee had talked about it at all, so.
Not for a while.
Okay, right. Councilor Derry?
So with so many seats, so many limited seats available and so many people applying for seats, why do you feel that you're more prepared for this position than someone else?
Well, as the Hope Tour Guide, I get to meet hundreds of people from all over the world that have come to Barre to see our outdoor art gallery. And I think I project the positiveness that is Barre. And I really enjoy what I do. I have some wonderful stories. You'll have to come for a tour. And I don't know, I just feel like I can give back some to Barre that way.
So much.
Councilor Wozniak, did you have a question?
No, it's 2 seats, right?
Yeah, there are 2.
Thank you.
Well, thank you so much for coming in tonight and sitting through such a long meeting.
Thank
But
you.
we know teachers are patient. Especially if you had him as a student. All right.
Oh, the story.
No comment.
Okay, so that takes us to, we have Haley Aaron Perro. Welcome.
Thank you for having me. Should I just jump right in?
Yeah, jump right in.
Great. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Haley Perro. I'm a resident of Hill Street. I moved to Barre in 2021. Born and raised in Vermont, was away for about 10 years, have been back about 10 years. And I mostly was interested in this position or the positions in general, just because I want to get more involved in the community and ultimately, give back. I know we're fortunate enough to have paid staff members, but I think even in cities like Barre, that volunteers can do a lot for the community. I live near Elmwood Cemetery and Courier Park, and I'm certainly a user of those spaces, but really want to also move to be a steward with them or steward of them. And then recreation was of interest. I just think that's a really important part of any community, usually low to no cost for most folks, sort of one of those third spaces that's not work and not school where people can gather. And I certainly have a lot to learn, especially with the committee, reorganization. and trying to figure out, what falls under the odd and the BOR and what's in trails and what's in recreation and conservation and cemeteries. But really just looking to bring some energy and ideas, and also learn a lot from people like Eileen. So that's sort of my spiel, and happy to answer any questions.
Great, thanks. Are there questions for Haley? Councilor Deering?
So you mentioned your daytime job and having boundaries. Can you just?
Sure. Yeah, no, that was probably a little vague in my
So
application.
that's why I wanted to ask and kind of just put it out there.
Sure. So my daytime job, I'm employed by the U.S. Senate. I work for Senator Bernie Sanders. I do not do any campaign work. I purely work in the Vermont, constituent-facing office, and as his outreach director. And I just need to be sure that anything I sort of look at with my personal hat on, which is where I am with here tonight, is separate from anything I do related to work. So I don't know if occasionally I might need to kind of recuse myself from some things, but I feel very confident that I can keep these things entirely separate. I'll just need to be cognizant of that.
So are you the only one, are you the one that responds to me when I email Bernie Sanders? Because he's the only one that does.
Is here. I wish I could take credit for that. Probably not.
Okay. Okay. Have you been able to attend a meeting?
I haven't. I was looking at some of the past agendas to try to get a feel and meetings. I only saw 2 posted, and then I was trying to dig a little further back before it was kind of reconfigured. So I have not.
You can find them online as well if you want to.
Okay. Older ones?
Yeah.
I think they were
Okay.
taken archive, yeah.
No, they're on YouTube. I can.
the videos.
Oh, okay.
The videos,
Yeah, the videos. Yeah.
No,
you
that's a
can
great point.
go on there if you search for them if you want. Thank you.
Yeah.
And
Any other questions? All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so that takes us to Sonia Spalding. Welcome, and also thank you for your patience for this late meeting.
Sure, I'm used to long meetings.
Yeah, you are. You are.
This is actually early. So.
yes, it is.
So I'm Sonia Spalding. The reason that I applied for this position is because I have, with my previous comment, have been concerned for some time about the number of people participating on committees who are not from Barre City. And so I figured, I saw the advertisement in the paper and I said, you know what, I have to put my money where my mouth is and I have to apply. So I looked at all of the open positions. I reviewed all of the information that was on the website to see which would be the best fit for me. And because I work, I own a business with my brother and another partner. We sell supplies to the stone industry. I've been doing that for 24 years. And I'm also very interested in recreation. I went to school and for counseling and am interested in working with kids. I worked as an after-school program director. I would love to see us be able to use recreation as more of a revenue-producing department, if you will. I know I got up and spoke about using ARPA funds for a summer day camp at the pool, and I just would love to see us be able to utilize our assets like the BOR, the pool, and the auditorium more fully. And to be perfectly honest, I'm not sure what the conservation piece is about, but I'd be willing to learn about that. So I'm happy to answer any questions.
Since you're in the stone business and on the cemetery question, are you seeing trends or other municipal cemeteries shift their policies or practices? And
I don't know about policies, but there's definitely a movement more towards cremation. And I think even locally, I think Barrytown is moving more to building, let me make sure I say this right, columbarium.
yeah.
And so, that's something that we as a community may want to consider as well, because if that's what more people are moving towards, it may make more sense for us to consider that, so.
Just curious, how many people did you notice were from out of town on the committees?
Anecdotally, I just look through and I know some people, and I know lots of people. I've lived here for 24 years in my house, and then I grew up in the area, and so I looking at the names, I sort of know where people are from, and not everyone is from Barre City, and so I'm not gonna like, oh, you're not from Barre, but I just feel like it's our community, and I would like to see more people step up and support our community and participate and be involved. And so I'm just,
Did you notice that there was more out-of-town people on this particular committee than any other committees? Or was this just the
Oh,
committee
no.
that you chose that you would like to participate in?
yeah, I just chose this committee because I felt like it was probably the best fit for me. So, not because of the people on the committee and trying to, honestly, I think the committee that probably has the most people from Barrytown is the, used to be the Civic Center Committee.
I think there's only one city resident on that
Yeah.
committee.
And I think you just reappointed him, so, yeah.
So do you think that it would be fair to say that having some diversity between citizens of the city and non-citizens would be important to have that aspect?
I think that having public comment at committee meetings allows for the diversity of thought and allows for people who have a vested interest in the community, like a business owner or a property owner, doesn't actually have residence here, to be able to speak to the concerns that they may have without necessarily being on the committee.
I've actually found that not to necessarily be the case, where as someone who goes to some of these committee meetings, even for the city, I'm only allotted 2 minutes to speak at some of these committee meetings. So to be on that committee could potentially be helpful and give that diversity. So just not sure. So thank you.
Sure.
All right, Council Booton.
Yeah, have you been able to attend a meeting? And the only reason why I'm asking it for this committee is because there is a multiple, it's not anything personal.
I have not, because I'm not sure, I didn't really realize until I saw the ad in the paper and then
Okay.
applied that this was the committee that I wanted to be on. I did review the minutes, and I didn't realize that there were YouTube videos, so I didn't actually Google that.
Should have asked
But I
me,
did have
Sonia.
a conversation with Giuliano about what the committee was about, and he sent me the charge of the committee, and I had a conversation with him so that I could understand it better. But I did not see any of the meetings.
Okay. And since you guys, I don't know if you guys know, it does meet during the day, just as a side note.
Yep.
Good, let you know.
And I will also point out that I also had Miss Galander. She was Miss Sinclair at the time.
She liked me more.
I took her public speaking class, and here I am in front of you, right? So it's amazing.
Do you remember the poem?
No idea.
I know.
That was English. That was public speaking.
The
so.
curriculum committee had changed everything by that. Well, thank you, Sonia.
Thank you very much.
Really appreciate it. So that takes us to Caitlin, Kat, Allen. Thank you so much. Yeah.
Kat, you can call me Kat. And my burial plan is I want to be a root ball under a tree.
I'll just tell council, I
We'll
met Kat
start.
on her street with a jackhammer in her hand. So-
I'm redoing my front walkway. I hit myself with a rubber mallet this last weekend and now have to wear a brace for a week, but it will be done soon.
All right.
So my name is Kat Allen. I have been a resident of Barre City for almost a year. I have lived in 9 different capital city areas in the last 9 years, working in government technology. And I purposely looked to shift jobs so that I could stay here. So I love Barre, and this is the first time I've ever looked to set down roots. I picked this particular committee because I think it is the best committee to me to help foster and build community. As someone who is new to the area, I haven't seen a ton of community organized events that I personally would want to attend, maybe because there's not a great Instagram page and I don't know about them. But my degree is in advertising and marketing, so I always try to have like a little bit of edge, or that is kind of my thought process on a lot of things. I have been nervous to talk all night and now I'm nervous. But I think some of you have seen that on an email chain that I started to start a new community garden space up on Hilltop, which is where I live. It's a little contentious. I've said I'm happy to read the FEMA restrictions and see what I can figure out about it to not create a permanent structure. But that idea of creating spaces, having activities that bring people together in a kind of nurturing environment. And recently, because of the Instagram thing about the label for our town, which apparently shall not be said because it wasn't on the Instagram story, I feel like the town through this committee actually has the opportunity to rephrase that term potentially during the fall season with Vermont history opportunities through better branding and exposure, potentially bring in a little bit of tourism as a revenue generator, partnering with local businesses and the historical society also. So I have a lot of ideas. I'm new to town and I hope that's okay. And I have a lot of energy and I can make daytime meetings because I work from home. So I just have to change on my sweatpants.
No.
No, you don't.
Excellent.
You can go in sweatpants.
That's even better.
So that was you.
That was me.
Lay in the stone walk.
Yeah.
That
that's
was me in the white pickup truck trailering
Bless
the
you
brush.
for cutting down those branches. It makes such a difference. I will go out the U that way now.
I was slowing down, but I'm like, because I'm fascinated by that, and I've got a brick walkway that needs to be leveled.
That's
And
me.
so I was going by real, and I'm like, quit staring, she's gonna think you're creepy.
It took us probably a month and a half to source all those bricks. They are antique bricks that are from between 1760 and 1820.
You need some, do you need more?
I do. Yes.
What? Just email me.
Yes, thank you
Because
so
we had to
much.
have, we live up on Nelson, we had to have our chimney redone, and they
Amazing.
had to find bricks that would match the 100-year-old bricks.
Yep.
And we ended up with an extra half a pallet.
Yep, we have focused on, so that's a
What
little
does
bit
this have
about
to do with the
myself.
committee?
So
I'm
much is
sorry.
being accomplished here, nothing to do with the committee.
Anybody who wants to follow my renovation journeys, Hilltop House VT on
Instagram?
On Instagram, that's me. But we live in one of the Sears catalog houses and have been doing everything that we can to strip away all the additions that have been added to it and restore the house to its original greatness with a little bit of a modern twist, sparingly.
Well,
So
that's
I'm
great.
handy. This is one of 2 injuries in the last year. I have lots of tools.
That speaks to the, the conservation and the heritage elements of the committee.
Yes.
So thank you for that overview. Are there any further questions before we close interviews tonight? Councilor Booton?
Have you had an opportunity to attend one of the meetings?
Okay, let's talk about availability and communications with the city. It's not great. So I didn't even know until I applied for this position because I did want to attend one ahead of time. I had no idea they were open to the public. And maybe that's my lack of knowledge because I've never been somewhere long enough to where I wanted to get involved because I always knew I was going to move away. But I don't think the committee sessions are advertised very well for people to attend if they wanted to.
I've personally experienced that from residents asking the same question if committee meetings are open to the public because they, for some reason, some people feel that they may not be.
It's not meant to be shady. That was just meant to be an honest answer.
Yeah, and I just need to clarify something because it just dawned on me. I upload a lot of videos, so I may not have uploaded any of these now that I'm thinking about it because I don't think you guys they record.
At any
I
rate,
don't think
that's
they
not the
record.
city
So I
doing
do
it.
apologize for making the comment.
Fired.
Well, it's
I
okay.
know, right?
Yeah. Well, and I hear you also that the Civic Center auditorium, there have been meetings that I've wanted to attend, but I work, so, and they're during the day, and it eliminates most of the population from being able to work, and they don't record them. So, yeah, but there is the minutes, but you bring up good points about accessibility, and how we advertise them. All meetings of any public body of a municipality have to be posted in 3 places online on the website. We go above and beyond by putting it on Facebook
And Front Porch Forum.
Front Porch Forum, and it's on the community calendar there, so that's a great place to keep in
I'm
the
on the
loop there.
forum. So the forum
So-
is where I usually learn about city stuff.
Yeah.
But a lot of younger people are not on Facebook.
Yeah, yeah. All right.
And I still consider myself younger people.
Well, thank you so much for the
Thank
interview
you
and your feedback and
the opportunity.
choosing Barre.
Thank you, Cap.
Yeah. All right, so that takes us to, and nobody has to feel like they need to stick around, but we have upcoming business.
Item 90.
One more.
Oh, no, yeah, we have our TIF. So,
Didn't we move?
We didn't appoint anyone.
so I'm interested,
No, we
Tom's
moved the
interested.
D from above
Okay,
on
I'm
the
sorry.
consent agenda.
Did anybody else express interest by
No,
email?
not to me.
Okay,
Do
all right.
that.
So we're looking for an appointment of me and Council Lozon to be on the downtown TIF action team.
So moved.
Second.
There's a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion?
Anyone else who wanted to?
Nope.
Nope.
I'll volunteer.
Just
When-
checking.
How often are we meeting and when?
We don't know. We don't know. So,
I'd be willing.
It's a little odd to me that we're appointing, because I remember them specifically saying that, hey, this isn't a council committee, we're just gonna convene a group.
Oh,
and-
you're right, yeah.
So.
Motion withdrawn.
I think as long as we don't, if the 4 of us want, I don't even know how they're gonna let us know when they are doing it. I mean, it's fine, I mean, we can vote it, and if you want to go, Michael, you certainly
I mean,
are welcome, as long as we don't have a quorum.
Right.
Because we are talking specifically about city business.
I mean,
So if the 3 of us, I don't even know how we get on the list. I don't know what it is.
We threw your names in.
yeah, I think,
Voluntold.
yeah, so we suggested it to Stephanie and David. And I think they're just waiting to hear who they need to be reaching out to schedule
Oh,
stuff with.
okay.
Yeah, so I don't know if it needs to be a formal vote. It's not a city body.
I don't
It's,
think so. I think the main
Probably
reason
better not
that
to
we,
be, yeah.
that we carried it over was just to give
People
other
a chance,
counselors
yeah.
an opportunity if they wanted to voice.
but this can
an
just,
interest.
this could have been an email, this can be an email.
Yeah,
So-
yeah.
So if, so
All right.
motion withdrawn then.
Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
No motion.
So then in terms of upcoming business, we have a busy agenda on the 20th coming up, right? We have anything major that you
The
need to?
ADC is coming in.
I'm sorry, I do want to just make sure, are we including Counselor Deering? So the minutes should interest that he's voiced interest, perfect. Sure. Good.
I would like to hang out with you guys.
They're by Zoom, sorry.
Learn.
No, I'm kidding.
So, BADC's coming in.
River
to give an
Access Task
update.
Force, and the Winooski River, forget the official name.
Conservation District?
Conservation,
What
yeah.
are they talking about?
They have a,
I
have
should
an
ask you
update on
later.
some projects they're working on, yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Interviews,
All right.
and we'll have to, probably after all the interviews are done, council still has to decide on the ARPA Community Innovation Fund projects.
Yeah, and we have Oliver's coming in to talk about an environmental decision, court
Yep.
decision?
Yep.
Okay. All right, anything else that anybody else wants to preview?
No, I would just say, I'm just thinking of this right now, that we may want to, I didn't want to put Bob on the spot, but I'm gonna talk to Bob about expanding and the rest of the committee, whether folks want to expand. The Police Advisory is the only committee left, I think, that has 5 people.
Instead of 7.
Instead of 7, and there was no real reason for that when we did it, we just did, so there have been 1 or 2 times where we haven't hit quorum because someone's on vacation or something like that, and, so I'll see if we meet on Monday, so I'll ask the committee if they're interested in that, we might have a
And
couple spots.
we also need to think about council liaisons as well.
All right. It takes us to roundtable. I'll just go in ward order. Council Lozon.
Nope.
Council Booton.
Pass.
Council Wozniak.
I appreciate your work, Nicholas, even if it makes me grumpy.
Council Deering.
Oh, I just want to wish my wife a happy 8th wedding anniversary today.
Congrats.
8 years. Crazy. I know, 8. I know. And she's definitely upset that, I had to fulfill my civic engagement duties. But, there are priorities in life. She knew that when I took the oath of office.
This has been recorded.
And that was the last anniversary
It might be.
Like I said,
But
rookie.
she's been amazing to me, and without her support, I would not be able to sit here. So really, my wife has been my rock. And I'll end with that.
Counselor Stockwell.
Pass.
And I'll pass as well. And we have no executive session tonight, so that takes us to the adjournment.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn at 9:37. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, the ayes have it. We are adjourned. What a
Good night, all online.
Wait, my phone's on sleep mode.